The Terracotta Warriors are on a lot of bucket lists, and with China easier to visit in 2026, more travelers are adding Xi'an to their plans. But this is one of those stops that's easier to mess up than you think. The site is outside the city, tickets need planning, and the visa rules just got a lot simpler for Canadians and Brits than they are for Americans.
So today we're breaking down how to do Xi'an, China right. We're talking Terracotta Warriors, the old city, what it costs, how to get there, whether you need a tour, and the things we wish people knew before they landed in China looking confident and then getting immediately humbled by a train station.
Which, to be fair, could happen in any country.
Yeah, but in China, it happens at high speed, Dave.
Yeah, you said it. Taking the bullet train feels like part of the adventure. And that's really the point with Xi'an. This is not a place you just casually tack onto your trip without doing a little homework first.
Exactly. Xi'an is absolutely worth visiting, but there are a few things you need to know before you go, starting with the new visa rules.
First, let's talk about visas, because this is where things have changed for Canadians and Brits and have remained a little trickier for Americans. If you're from Canada or the UK, China has waived visas for 2026. Ordinary passport holders from both countries can enter visa-free for up to 30 days, and that policy is in place throughout the end of the year.
But Canada and the UK aren't the only ones. China has made this easier for travelers from a whole list of countries now, which is a big reason more people are starting to put it back on their travel plans.
But if you're American, here's where it gets just a little bit complicated.
What Americans can use under the right conditions is China's 240-hour visa-free transit policy. That's basically up to 10 days visa-free, but only if you're transiting onto a third country or region with confirmed onward travel plans to somewhere like, say, Thailand or Singapore.
So this is not, hey, let's pop into China for a random holiday and wing it. It's more, we have a plan, a booking, a next destination, and hopefully enough coffee to explain it calmly at the airport. If you want to stay longer or China is your main destination, then you'll need to look into the regular visa instead.
But for the rest of us, we get a full 30 days visa-free. And with that, it's plenty of time to visit Xi'an.
Okay, let's talk about Xi'an itself. Because if you're picturing the Terracotta Warriors as something right in the middle of the city, well, that's not really how this works. The Terracotta Warriors are in Lingtong district, about 40 kilometers northeast of downtown Xi'an.
So when people say they're going to Xi'an to see the Terracotta Warriors, what they really mean is they're staying in Xi'an and making a trip out to the site.
Which is completely doable. You just need to plan it properly and not assume that this is a casual stroll between a noodle shop and your hotel. The museum is way outside the city, so transportation really matters.
The good news is this is one of the most famous sites in China that you can absolutely visit independently. You do not need a tour, but whether you want a tour, well, that's a different question.
Exactly, Deb. If you're comfortable taking public transit, using translation apps, and doing a bit of planning, then independent travel, that's just fine.
But if you like convenience, context, and not having to figure out where exactly the bus number, whatever, is leaving from, while 400 other people are also trying to figure it out, then a tour can be worth it.
So let's talk price. The official adult ticket is 120 yuan, which is about $25, which honestly, for one of the world's most famous archaeological sites, that's pretty reasonable.
It is. But don't forget your passport. We needed it when we visited, and the museum's official ticketing information shows that the passport is part of the process still. Because in China, your bookings are tied to your ID.
So when you book, use the official museum website or the official WeChat ticket accounts. Enter your passport details exactly as they appear, and then bring your actual passport with you on the day. This is not one of those places where you'll want to smile as you please say, oh, I have a photo of it on my phone.
Yeah, that smile will not save you. Another important thing is to just don't assume that you can roll up to the site and buy a ticket on the day, especially in busy periods. A lot of the booking flow is now online, including through the museum's official channels. And during the busy season or holidays, that really matters.
Yeah, it can get absolutely crazy. So if you're traveling in spring, summer, a weekend, or any holiday period, book ahead. Future you will be thrilled that present you was not lazy.
Thank you, Dave. You can definitely book this yourself through the official museum channels, but if you want an easier option, we'll link a few Terracotta Warrior tours in the description below through Get Your Guide. That can be a great choice if you want hotel pickup, transport, private guides, and just less hassle.
Like everything in China, you have to book in advance. Get Your Guide has free cancellation up to 24 hours in advance, so it's a great way to hold your space.
So, opening hours, they're also worth noting. Official museum info lists 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. from March through November and 8:30 to 6:30 p.m. from December through February.
Which means if you want fewer crowds and a smoother experience, earlier is better. Because once the tour buses arrive, man, it gets busy fast. And this is not a tiny little museum either. It's a major site with security lines, walking, and a lot of people who all had the exact same brilliant idea as you did.
Okay, so how do you get to the Terracotta Warriors from Xi'an?
Well, first, you want to make a real occasion of it. There are luxury stays out in Lintong as well, if that's your jam. A place like Huangqing Palace Resort and Spa puts you close to the Terracotta Warriors, so you can get there early, stay late, and skip a lot of the back and forth from central Xi'an. And you'll enjoy a little luxury and relaxation after your day.
But if you're like most people, you'll be staying in central Xi'an, where you'll be able to get to the old city by foot. You'll enjoy the food and have a bit more of the atmosphere. If you stay out in Lingtong at the place like the Hongqing Palace, you trade some city energy for convenience, but you have a much easier Terracotta Warriors day. So it's up to you whatever you want to do.
But if you're downtown, let's talk about how you get there. If you didn't book an organized tour, you've got a few options. Cheapest, obviously, is public transit. But you can now take a tourist bus from Xi'an right to the Terracotta Army. That works, but it definitely takes longer, and it's not the option I'd choose if you're tight on time or just want the day to feel easy.
The next best thing is taxi or ride hailing. It's faster and simpler, especially if there are two of you. Just make sure to have your translation app handy. We recommend Microsoft Translator as it lets you download offline language packs. Baidu Translate is also commonly used in China.
Now, I wouldn't rely on Google Translate unless you have a VPN. We use an eSIM from Airalo when we travel, which makes it much easier to stay connected. It's easy to set up, you don't have to swap out your physical SIM card, and you don't have to worry about roaming fees.
Yeah, remember, things like Google, Facebook, Instagram, that is all banned in China unless you have a VPN or if you use an eSIM.
Now, there's also then the full tour option, where someone else handles the transport, the timing, and hopefully the history part too.
They'll most likely pick you up at your hotel and you'll have a hassle-free day. But this does bring us to the real question. Should you do this independently or should you book a tour? Well, my answer is, if you're a confident traveler, go independently. You can enjoy the site on your own time, have flexibility with arrival and departure, and move at your own pace, all while avoiding spending the day being marched around on someone else's schedule.
But if this is your first time in China, or you're just short on time, or you really want to understand what you're seeing, a tour has real value. Because the Terracotta Warriors are impressive the moment you walk in, but the backstory is really what gives this weight.
Yeah, otherwise, some people just walk in, stare at Pit 1, nod solemnly, and then 5 minutes later go, okay, so we've seen some statues. Which is technically true, but is also a crime against context.
Yeah, because a guide, it can explain why this site matters, how it was discovered, and what you're actually looking at, and why one pit feels different from another. That adds a lot to the experience.
So a good middle ground is doing it independently but hiring a guide at the site, or booking a private driver and guide without a full package tour. We have links to that in the description below as well. Now let's talk practical travel stuff for visiting China, because this is where China can still trip people up.
Yeah, before leaving your country, load your Airalo SIM card and learn how to use it, so that you'll have internet the minute you land. Have your translator downloaded and offline translate ready to use, and make sure to set up Alipay before you go. And ideally WeChat Pay as well, because China is a heavily mobile payment country. Cards and cash they exist, but mobile apps make your life much easier.
So get used to scanning those QR codes and using your phone to pay for everything from transit to food.
Now, official museum ticketing also points people towards its official WeChat account for booking. So this is not optional, nice to have territory. This is set it up before you land so you don't become dramatic in public.
Now, if you're coming from Beijing, Xi'an is an easy high-speed train ride from about 4 to 6 hours. From Shanghai, it's more of a commitment at around 6 to 9 hours, so many people prefer to fly in instead. If you're flying, you'll likely come in through Xi'an Xianyang International Airport.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Good job. And if you're traveling around China by train, the big one to know is Xi'an North Railway Station, which is the main high-speed rail hub. And pay attention to that, because Xi'an North and Xi'an Railway Station are not the same thing.
And confusing them is exactly the kind of travel mistake that sounds small when you're booking and feels enormous when you're standing in the wrong place with all your bags.
So the real question here is, should Xi'an be more than just a quick stop for the Terracotta Warriors?
Definitely. Because it's not just about the Terracotta Warriors. Yeah, they're famous, but Xi'an has enough going on that it deserves more than a rushed in-and-out visit. There are plenty of things to do downtown that make it a good overnight stay for 1 or 2 evenings.
You've got the ancient city wall, which is one of the best preserved in China. The Muslim Quarter, which is great for food and atmosphere. And there's the beautiful bell tower area. You can't miss any of those.
So if you can, give Xi'an at least 2 nights. 1 day for the Terracotta Warriors and 1 day for Xi'an itself. We rented a bike in Xi'an and cycled around the city wall, and it was a fabulous way to see the old town from above. And then when you're done, you can grab dinner in the Muslim Quarter before seeing the lights of the bell tower at night.
2 days is actually the sweet spot, because if you do only the Warriors and leave, yes, technically you've seen the big headline, but you've missed the city that makes the stop feel complete. Xi'an is often the history stop in a bigger China itinerary. After that, a lot of people go to Chengdu for pandas or Shanghai if they're short on time. We're going to take you to Chengdu next, so stay tuned for our next video.
And if you want to see Shanghai, check it out in the links below.
And if this video helped you plan your trip, give it a like, leave your questions in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.
We'll see you in the next video, and let us know in the comments where you would like us to go next, because we've been to 130 countries on all 7 continents, and we're still going strong.
Thanks for watching, everybody.